The Girsan Witness 2311. Hey guys, Scott here, and before we dive into this video doing an open box of the Girsan Witness here, and then later on going through my perspective from a southpaw about this firearm, and also some pointers and some things I'm noticing even from a right-handed shooter's perspective. Let me just take care of a few housekeeping things. First, hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. And second of all, I want to give a big thanks to EA for sending me the 23 Witness to put it through its paces from a southpaw perspective, and for them jumping into my range day video series. I mean, that's pretty much what sold them on sending me this firearm. So range day video series is why I bring this to the range, and we get real shooters, real feedback, and real impact. So this will be coming up in my next episode, episode 2, so please keep an eye out for that. And lastly, on this channel, I do follow all the 4 safety rules of firearm handling. So this firearm here, we'll drop it down and open it up and check it. It is not loaded. So throughout this video, this firearm has been checked and has been cleared. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and we'll dive into the open box, and then I'll give you my perspective from a southpaw. All right. Hey guys, let's go ahead and dive into the open box here of the Witness 2311. It of course comes in your standard Girsan box, blue box here, which seems to be standard for a lot of manufacturers. But let's go ahead and see what we get in here. The first thing you'll see is this is from Girsan Arms. So basically, if you want to customize, EA/Girsan would like you to go through, I guess, through Girsan Arms. Girsan Arms makes very excellent firearms. They're not as popular as they used to be. I'm not sure why. It's been a while since I've heard that name, so it's kind of interesting when I saw them, the card in here. So you'll get that. Then of course you'll get your instruction manual for the 2311, and this will cover all variances of the 2311. This will even carry for the new Match X, which I'll do later, a review on that later on. So you'll get that. Of course, your standard magwell lock that's required by law. You'll get a bore brush. You'll get a spare 17-round Checkmate magazine. If you're not familiar with them, they do make staccato magazines. I'm not sure if they're making them for the staccato. I'm not a big staccato fan, sorry about that. But if you go on site, they do mention staccato. I'm not sure if that's who are mass producing that for them or they're just aftermarket. They also make 1911s. They do M4 magazines. They're stepping up their game. I think they're giving Mekgar a run for their money. I mean, the quality of this is excellent. So it's just something to think about. So you'll get that. And of course, you'll get the firearm. This is the Witness 2311. This one is threaded barrel. And it seems like this model here, the entry-level one, does everything is in a threaded barrel. So we'll go through the specs and all that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and drop it out. So you'll get 2 magazines, 17 rounds. So you get a 17 plus round capacity. Let's go ahead and lock it back and check the chamber. Everything is safe. And like I said earlier, I do follow the 4 safety rules for firearm handling. So I treat every firearm as though they're loaded, and that's what we just did here. All right, guys. So basically, this is Girsan's entry into the 2311 or the 2011. They cannot use that since that is a staccato trademark. So basically, again, this one here is a 9mm Luger, and this model you can only get it in a 9mm. It's a single action, semi-automatic hammer fire, not striker fire. They're saying the barrel length is 4 1/4. Now, they're not including the thread for some reason. I'm not sure. Sometimes specs get a little bit off skew for even a lot of the manufacturers. So it's roughly another 1/2 inch. So you're looking at 4 3/4 inches for the barrel. I mean, maybe you're not, because it's the threaded part, you don't add that. I'm not sure. But so the threaded barrel has the thread pattern of 1.5 by 28. All right, so it's a suppressor ready, and I've run my JK Armor through this thing, and it is sweet. So I'll let you know that much. So the threaded barrel, I'll just leave that off there. The overall length is roughly, let's say, ½ inch. I'm going to add, so it's roughly about a little over 8 inches, 8¼ inches, give or take. So you'll get that, like I mentioned earlier. So it's 17 plus 1. So you get 17 in the magazine plus 1 in the chamber. The frame is a block polymer, so it's lightweight. It's not that full alloy frame and all that you'll see in like 1911s and some other double stacks. So it's definitely lightweight. The slide finish is Cerakote, black Cerakote. It is optic ready. It's RMSC, which is very nice. And that's what you see here. And this is what I've been running, and I ran it on when I did the range day video with this firearm, so you'll get to see that. This is the Sealy CAT EDG, stands for enclosed duty grade, enclosed emitter, duty grade. So that is the thing here. Good polymer grips, very nice checkered, good texture. Withstand everything. So you get a checkered pattern here, and then on the back strap and the front, you'll get a dot pattern. So it's very nice, and everything here about it that's nice. Now they have newer models, so they're basically now coming out with a fiber optic front sight, as well as a adjustable rear sight, and that's a Novik style. This model here that I have is just your iron suppressor height, and then your standard 2-dot sight in the back. So, but it looks like I can, if I wanted to upgrade, I can upgrade that. And I'm not sure if they've changed. That was the one thing about Girsan, is they use a proprietary, their own proprietary for sights. So basically trying to find, it's not like you can use a Glock sight or a SIG. And I meant to look at that. And if I find any information, I will definitely add it to my comments and all that. So that's very nice. You get an ambidextrous thumb safety, which is very tactile, very functional for both sides. So as a left-handed and a right-handed, it's very nice. The trigger is skeletized, as well as the hammer. Now the weight is about 2 pounds unloaded. So you're figuring it's going to run you close to about 2 1/4, 2 3/4 with ammo in it. Depending on the weight of the ammo and all that. If you're using 147 grain or 124 grain, whichever. So again, like I said, it's the Cerakote is black finish. So those are the specs. Very nice. It's got laser cuts on the slide. They are pretty sharp, so you're definitely going to feel them and all that. So that is one thing to talk about here. The finish is excellent on this. I mean, I know they've had some bumps there, but I mean, Girsan definitely puts out an excellent gun. This is, I have one of their straight up 1911. That thing has been flawless. I have the MC9 Disruptor. That's been working very well and all that. So they do put out nice guns, and like the Cerakoting on the MC9 is kind of a black camouflage, so it's really cool. That's also threaded barrel. So I mean, definitely nice well. They have nice finishes and all that. The mag well has a nice flare to it, so easy. They have notches there to grab the magazine, and I'm just being careful here, guys. I'm not sure these days if I put insert a magazine in here, it would be considered, modification here. So I guess I could take it offline. So bring it back out. So there's it with the mag back in, and you can see, hopefully you can see the notches. So very nice notch. This is what I would consider, and I've been needing to change some of my definitions here. I would consider this a quasi ambidextrous firearm, just for the fact being a hammer fire, and then adding in that thumb safety, the ambidextrous thumb safety kind of makes it a quasi ambidextrous, because everything else is non-ambidextrous. So your slide lock and your magazine release are not interchangeable, or with the slide lock, it's not on both sides. So this is what I would consider a quasi ambidextrous firearm, just for that fact. Normally, you don't see that in a striker fire, but you are starting to see within the striker fire, they might have the magazine releases are swappable, so it kind of makes it a quasi. So that's where we're going with this. But so that's the specs, guys. So let's go ahead and I'll give you my impression of the firearm, and I've been trying to work on a scaling system to kind of give you guys an understanding, and we'll go deeper into that, in the next section. All right, guys, hope you found this part very helpful. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into the Witness from a southpaw perspective and all that. But a couple things before we get going on that perspective. Let's go ahead and make sure the gun is not loaded. Again, we'll take the magazine out and we'll lock back the slide. Check the chamber, check everything, so it is not loaded for that reason. Okay, so if you've been watching my channel for a little bit, I define firearms into multiple categories. I fully ambidextrous, quasi-ambidextrous, and non-ambidextrous. And I'll provide the definitions down below in the description. This here is, like I said earlier, is a quasi, because of the hammer fire, this is what I would consider it a quasi firearm, because it has the ambidextrous thumb safeties, which is the only thing that is ambidextrous on this firearm. So, but also going into those things, what I'm looking for when I look at a firearm, and I look at all firearms, even this one here, as a tool for self-defense. So I am looking at how well does the slide lock work, and is it intuitive from my perspective as a southpaw? And then also, if I needed to use it, if I had to, for some reason I could not use my left hand, I had to use my right hand, how well intuitive that is. And that's one perspective. I look at, slide manipulation. How easy is it to rack the slide? Can I manage that and lock it, use the slide lock at the same time? I will believe in that when, you have a malfunction, especially like you're looking at a failure to extract, or a double feed, I like to lock that slide back. I like to relieve the pressure, off the magazine, off the chamber and all that. I mean, you could be 2 rounds from the 17 round and have a malfunction, and there's a lot of pressure being built coming up from this, and trying to, being able to release some of it by locking it back. That's what I look to do. It's an old school way. I know there's some newer ways that people are doing it, but this is what I just like to do. I feel like I'm not going to mess up my firearm, especially when it comes to the mag release. So that's the other thing. And then I look at the magazine release. Can I swap it out? If I can't, how well does it function? Now, normally as a southpaw, I am the only one in the family, so I do not normally swap it out. Because if my family member picks up that firearm, I want them to know that mag release is always going to be on that left-hand side. So those are the things that I'm looking at when I'm looking at this, and how I am going to rate this or to review this here. Been working on some type of scaling system, so work with me, guys. This is my first time using this, and hopefully you guys will find this helpful, or if you see where it could be improved, I would love to hear those comments down below. So basically here, what I got is what I'm calling is the Humble SouthPaw Ambi Score, or basically the ambidextrous firearm usability scale. So I'm looking at different criterias. So basically, rating it from 0 to 10, and there's all these different, what that makes it, of course, 10 being the best, 0 being the worst. But I'm looking at smoothness, how well, the low effort, no binding when it comes to the slide manipulation, ergonomics, adaptability, like I said, if I have to use my right hand, and this will work for both sides, I mean, if you're a right-handed dominant shooter, but if you have to use your left hand, how well is it going to function for you? So I'm hoping to give a balanced review here for you guys, and then just consistency, uniform performance, and across, both hands. So that's what I'm looking for. So this is the first time I'm doing it, and in ranking this, and you'll find it very interesting what it's coming out to be. Now, like I said, this is a what I would consider a quasi ambidextrous, just for the fact that it has the thumb safety. And let me just cock that back, and I'll put the safe. No, can't do it that way. And that's the only thing that's making it. So basically, I have the slide lock on this on the left side, and I have the mag release also on the left side. So basically, those are the only things here. So basically, looking at the slide lock, slide release here from a left-handed perspective, I found it's reachable. It's intuitive. It's not the top that I've so far tested and used based on this rating, but it is good. But believe it or not, if I'm a right-handed shooter, I don't know if you can see this, my thumb does not reach that thumb safety. Now, either I got short thumbs, and I have average hands. I use, I think it's the large mechanic gloves, so I got average size hands, but I cannot reach that slide lock. So that's very interesting. I need to adjust, compared to being from my left hand using my trigger finger. So that is something to think about here. Another thing I found with this is they provide stippling on the top side. So basically, if you're looking to do, if you're doing that, slide release section, slide release, yeah, you got that texture, so you're going to be able to feel it. But on the bottom side, which you would use to lock the slide, it's very smooth. Very smooth. So basically what that's going to do, if you're sweaty, whatever, I mean, it's not that big of a lip there that you could miss it. Your finger could slip off of it because there is no texture. So that's something I would look at. So when it came to scoring, when it came to slide lock, from a left-handed perspective, I gave it a 7. And then from a right-handed perspective, because I could not reach, and guys, if somebody has one of these from a right-handed perspective, I would love this. And if you got average hands, I would like to hear what you're seeing on your side. But basically, I gave it a 5. So that's definitely a different perspective there. So basically, slide manipulation. Again, it's just how well does it, with racks. And if you see my other videos, I like to make sure I can keep the firearm in front of my workspace. If I'm in a situation that I'm able to keep my situational awareness in front of me, and I'm able to handle malfunction. So basically, how well does this slide lock, and how well does it lock back? And I know, right there we go. And how, do I got to lose control of the firearm in order to do this? With practice, I don't think I will. I mean, that's the one thing where that slide lock is. That's why I gave it a little less score. It's not as well as some other firearms I've tried. So that was another thing from a right-handed perspective. It's working, but again, the only nice thing is I'm able to kind of adjust, but I'm coming from the right side. I'm able to see that notch, so I can lock it up. So I probably should change my score on this a little bit, but again, I have to adjust everything. I have to change my grip. But slide manipulation, I gave them both, from a right-handed perspective and a left-handed perspective, I gave it an 8. So let me just look at my notes here. The laser cut serrations are very good. That's very helpful. The serrations in the back are very nice. The only thing about the front ones, they are very sharp. So it's something you're going to have to get used to. But if you have gloves on, it's not going to be a factor, which is kind of a nice thing. And that's the one thing here, talking about the slide lock. If I have gloves on, and having that smooth bottom section there with no stippling, my hand's going to slip off there most likely. So that is one thing here. And then mag release. From a left-handed perspective, like I said, I'm so used to doing it from this way. It is good. It's a little tight, and probably in time it will break in, but it is tight. And then from a right-handed, it works. I can reach it. I'm having to come back around a little bit. I'm kind of changing my grip to reach it. So from a southpaw perspective, and I'll try to show this chart up there, guys. I gave it from a left-handed perspective, I gave it an 8. From a right-handed perspective, I gave it a 6. Now, again, this is my first time going around. I might be adjusting numbers as I'm, doing more of this from this scale. But I wanted to give you guys an idea of what you're looking at from an ambidextrous perspective, not just from a southpaw perspective. So those are my scores. This one ranked very good from a left-handed perspective, and good based on adding up all the scores and averaging them out. This landed in kind of the good from a right-handed perspective. So basically, if I needed to use this with my right hand, I would. It's not as comfortable, not as usable as it is from a left-handed shooter, which is very surprising. Being a quasi or / non-ambidextrous firearm, that it works that way. And you guys, like I said, if somebody has one of these and it's a right-handed shooter, please put the comments down below. I'd love to find out. I have a bunch of friends who are right-handed. I need to take this out to them, take it to the range, and get their impression of it, from that perspective, and see what they're seeing. My range day, we didn't go in depth to that. Just pretty much allowed people to shoot it and just give me an overall feel of what they thought of the firearm. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Please hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and then definitely share this video. I would greatly appreciate it. And most importantly, guys, be safe out there.